Hi guys, and welcome back. This is Shannon from Shannon Creates, and we will be continuing part 2 of the Emotional Octopus mini pattern. So, now that you've weaved in all of your ends for both of your bodies, let's go into sewing on the little faces. You're going to take your safety eyes. I'm using 12mm for the size that I'm using. However, you can get larger ones if you want bigger eyes. It's up to you and your preference and what your face would like to look like. So when looking for the stitches, you're going to want to be very careful not to put them in between stitches because these eyes could potentially fall through. You're going to want to push your eyes directly in between the single crochets. As you can see, when I push here, it's not coming out. Making sure my eye is in the middle of that single crochet and not in between stitches, just because we do not want the eyes to push through. Once you have your eyes positioned where you'd like them to go, making sure they're not going to slip, you're going to want to put your backings on. Making sure they're tight and secure. And again, wiggling around those eyes to make sure that they are not in between stitches. I have lost so many eyes by putting them accidentally in between the single crochets and not in the center of the stitch. Now, everyone's favorite part, sewing the mouth. There are a few different techniques to do this. This is the technique I use. I make sure, again, that I do the similar thing to the eyes, and I'm making sure that I'm going in between the single crochet stitch itself and not in between the stitches, if that makes sense, so that wherever I'm placing the mouth is secure and that it won't move as much. So what I do is I go directly across, kind of looking at the eyeballs, obviously making the face, taking a scrap piece of Burnette velvet in black, and it looks like a smile right now. And then just pushing it up, I secure it. I secure it by going up 2 points at the top, so going through this one, kind of going through a hole, and then looping around the yarn and going back down the same place I went up, to create that first kind of secure point for the mouth to start frowning. And then I pick another point and I'm going to just do that same technique. And then once you've sewn that, you kind of flatten him to make sure that his mouth is frowning. Again, it all depends on what color and what face you want on which color. I did blue for sad. And then flip him inside out, taking my needle out, and just securing that black yarn. So now that we've finished our first body, we're going to pull our second body along to the side, and we are just going to do the same exact thing to the second body, but creating a happy face. Again, using my left hand here, I'm kind of using the inside to feel where the single crochets are, so I can push the eyeballs directly into those single crochets to secure them. And then just putting the two faces side by side to see that the eyes look very similar. And then just repeating the same process to sew on the smile. See how you can see that I wiggled my needle in a circle there? That's because I was in between the single crochet, and that's not where you want to be, just because it provides you a lot of wiggle room. And then you're just going to go the opposite way, going down. I do have to admit, I did put the smile a little too low on this octopus. You'll find it kind of see in the final. So you might want to put yours a little higher than I had placed mine. However, it's up to you to identify, where you want your smile to go. I think this is a project that's pretty much up to you, and I think it looks great either way. But after seeing my final, I wish I had moved my smile a little further up. Just playing with it a little to make sure it's all aligned and where I want it placed before securing it on the inside. And that's it. Now you have your two faces and your two octopus bodies. And now we can move right into sewing them and attaching them. So what you're going to do is you're going to take one body and you're going to flip it so that it looks like a bowl. And we are going to want to stuff this with a little polyfill. Now, you're not going to want to fully stuff it like I just did. You're going to want to take some out because you have to think that the other body is going to be stuffed in this body, so we have to make room. Now, you do not want to stuff directly in. You want to flip it inside out to make sure that the right side of the face is showing. So, flip it inside out, see that ugly side of the face, and then stuff it into your other body. It's so important that you do it this way, or because when you flip it inside out, if you do it the wrong way, it will show the wrong face. So you can see that I've overstuffed it at this point. So you're going to want to play with this to make sure that, your octopus isn't too overstuffed. With the minis, they do only take like a very little bit amount of polyfill, so you won't need that much. And then just kind of stuffing it in there, looking at it to see if it fits or not. Once you got your bodies all stuffed, the amount you want, you're going to want to just line up your tentacles like I'm doing right here, just to make sure that you're all set when you go to sew. Now you're going to want to grab your yarn needle, and you're going to want to grab a very long piece of yarn of either of the two colors. I just grabbed pink, and you're going to want to cut a piece off so that we can begin to sew the body. And then you are going to just begin to sew. I have an extremely long piece of yarn to sew this, just because I want to make sure I have enough to go around, leaving a little end at the end so that I can, and I just went all the way through. So starting over, pulling, leaving that tail so that I can come back and attach and know where I began, and then just sewing up the tentacle. any loose ends, or the ends that might be sticking out a little bit, you can tuck them in. And so making sure that you're going through both colors when you do. And then just continue to go down the tentacle, making sure that it's attached. You don't want too big of gaps in between your stitches, just because you don't want your fingers to get through, and you want the tentacle to be really secure and together. And then when you get to the point in between tentacles and at the body, you're just going to continue to sew them together, making sure that you go through both colors so that they're attaching. And then you will just continue up the side of the second tentacle and continue this process all the way around to attach. I know this process is tedious and takes forever, but it is so worth it, guys. You are almost done and you are doing a great job. Stitches, making it back to our end. We're just gonna go in and finish up. You can finish off any way you prefer. However, I am a sort of a lazy crocheter and I am gonna just tie this in a knot because this yarn hides so well. But you can always weave in the ends if you want. I just don't do that method because when it turns inside out, sometimes it pops out. So I just do a little cheat method and I tie it in a knot, making sure that my tentacle is not getting cinched. If it is, make sure you loosen, but tying in a little knot and then cutting off. And that's it. You are finished with your mini emotional octopus, and you can lay him flat and see that you have 8 tentacles. One of mine is tucked under right now, but you can see his little face. See, I wish my smile was a little too higher, but that's okay. And then you can flip him right inside out and you have the sad side. I hope you guys loved this pattern. You found this video super helpful. Please leave a like, a comment on any suggestions or feedback. I always love hearing what you guys have to say, and be sure to share your pictures of your mini octopuses with me on Instagram. I'd love to see them. If you like this video and want to see more, be sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel where I'll be producing more crochet content. Be sure to check out my website, shannoncreatesdesigns.com, for more patterns and to check me out on my other social medias. Thanks guys, stay tuned.